Hello and welcome to the streamed Shakespeare Trivia video. We're very excited for all of you to be here, and we have a lot of wonderful questions all about Shakespeare and his plays. My name's Emily McKnight and I am an actor based in Sydney, Australia, and I have been involved in the production side of things as well within this streamed Shakespeare company. I'm very excited today to be bringing you through our trivia and asking you some tricky and hopefully easy questions, and hopefully also giving you an opportunity to learn some more about the wonderful William Shakespeare. Very exciting for you all to be here. Hopefully you have, as I say, watched some of our shows in the past and or are looking forward to what's coming up next. We have some very exciting shows lined up with some excellent actors and excellent directors already starting to prepare the future shows. More about that a little later. So today's trivia, we have 4 rounds. There are 4 rounds. The first one will be a multiple choice round. The second will feature some amazing actors from our streamed Shakespeare troupe. The third one will be about Shakespeare's words. And then the final round will be to do with streamed Shakespeare and the shows that we have done so far. So it's about time we started, I think. Just a reminder for those watching at home, this will be much more fun and enjoyable for you if you are not on Google or on your phone or looking at one of your, what I'm sure you have as well, millions of Shakespeare books in your house. I've tried to make the questions doable for you, but there's of course plenty in there that are good for Shakespeare nerds as well. So wherever you're at in your Shakespeare journey, hopefully this will be an enjoyable experience for you. So the very first question in our Shakespeare trivia today. William Shakespeare, the prolific poet and playwright, lived from 1564 to 1616. And my question is, what date did Shakespeare die? A, April 23rd, the same day as his birthday. B, May the 4th. 3, October 31st. Or D, December 25th. So all significant dates in the year in some way. So I wonder if you know. Question 2, number 2. What was the name of Shakespeare's wife? Shakespeare's wife. Was it Julie Andrews? Was it Helen Mirren? Was it Anne Hathaway? Or was it Catherine Jones? Wonder if any of those people lived back in the 1500s. Question 3. What was the name of Shakespeare's acting company? So when Shakespeare was in London at the Globe, he had an acting company, and they had a name that performed at the Globe and around about. Were they called A, the Queen's Men, B, the King's Men, C, the Royal Performers, or D, the Globe Trotters? Because of course the theatre was named the Globe. And I was there but a few months ago. Question 4. Which of these names did not belong to one of Shakespeare's children? Which of these names did not belong to one of Shakespeare's children? Question A, answer A, Hamnet. B, Susanna. C, Elizabeth. Or D, Judith. Question 5. Which of the following is not one of Shakespeare's plays? A, King George. B, King John. C, Richard III. Or D, Hamlet. Question 6. Which of these quotes is not from a Shakespeare play? Is not from a Shakespeare play? A, the first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers. B, 'tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. C, to be or not to be, that is the question. Or D, A horse, my kingdom for a horse. Which of those is not Shakespeare? Question 7 of 10, by the way. 7 of 10. Which is Shakespeare's longest play? Which is his longest play? A, Hamlet, B, A Winter's Tale, C, Macbeth, or D, Othello? Question 8. It is taboo to say the word Macbeth in a theatre. I don't know if you knew that. Maybe you're an actor, or maybe you've just heard that, or you've seen that episode in Blackadder where they talk about Macbeth as the taboo word. If you say it in a theatre, it's often believed that if you say it, something bad will happen, and often actors have things that they have to do to save them from when that happens, like run around in a circle 3 times and things like that. So what do people tend to refer to Macbeth as instead? A, the M play, B, the you-know-who play, C, the Scottish play, or D, the cursed play? Question 9. Which 2 plays have been translated into Klingon? Which, if you don't know, is a language created from Star Trek. So any Star Trek fans out there, this one's for you. Macbeth. A is Macbeth and Hamlet. B, is it Much Ado About Nothing and Hamlet? C, is it Romeo and Juliet and Hamlet? Or D, is it Midsummer Night's Dream and Twelfth Night? And finally, last question of round 1, question 10, how many Shakespearean sonnets are there? Not including the ones within the plays, in case you were ready to trick me there. A, 164, B, 124, C, 154, or D, 1,984. So that is round 1, everybody. Hopefully you are brimming with answers. See how you go, and I will reveal the answers later in the afternoon. Round 2 is all about actual scenes from Shakespeare plays. So I have selected a couple of scenes that are very famous. So if you don't know them, you will now, and you're welcome. And these scenes are going to be performed by some of our streamed Shakespeare actors. Some of them you may recognize from previous shows. Hopefully you'll see them again in future shows. And they have been working hard to bring these scenes to you. So the way this is going to work is we're going to have the few actors playing their scenes. They will come on cam, perform their scenes. I will then ask a series of questions relating to that scene. We'll then have the next group of actors come on, perform their scene, next questions. There are 4 scenes in total. Alrighty, so we have the very first scene. Can my 3 actors for the first scene come on the scene, please? Excellent. All right, I will disappear, and when you're ready, you can take it away.
Thrice the brinded cat hath mewed.
Thrice and once the hedge pig whined.
Harpier cries, "'Tis time, 'tis time."
Round about the cauldron go, in the poisoned entrails throw. Toad that under coldstone days and nights has 31 swelted venom sleeping got. Boil thou first in the charmed pot.
Double, double toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble.
Fillet of a fenny snake, in the cauldron boil and make. Eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog. Adder's fork and blind worm's sting, lizard's leg and owlet's wing, for a charm of powerful trouble, like a hell broth, boil and bubble.
Double, double toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble.
Oh, wow, that was outstanding. Thank you so much. Fantastic acting there. So that was our very first scene for round 2. Question 1, what play was that scene from? What play was that from? Question 2, these characters in the play are often referred to as witches, and you could see they were acting in a very witchy way. But what else are they referred to? And for all those Shakespeare nerds out there, you will also know that, in fact, they're only referred to as witches once, I believe, in the play. And apart from that, they're called this other thing, which you will be answering. And final question for that scene, question 3, which animal's toe went into the cauldron? Which animal's toe went into the cauldron? So hopefully you were listening to that. Fab. All right, so now we are up to our second scene.
She speaks. Oh, speak again, bright angel, for thou art as glorious to this night, being o'er my head as a winged messenger of heaven unto the white, upturned, wondering eyes of mortals that fall back to gaze on him when he bestrides the lazy, puffing clouds and sails upon the bosom of the air.
Oh, Montague, Montague, wherefore art thou Montague? Deny thy father and refuse thy name. Or if thou wilt not be but sworn my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet.
Shall I hear more, or shall I speak at this?
'Tis but thy name that is my enemy. Thou art thyself, thou not a Montague. What's Montague? It is nor hand, nor foot, nor arm, nor face, nor any other part belonging to a man. Oh, be some other name. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other word would smell as sweet. So Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, retain that dear perfection which he owns without that title. Romeo, doff thy name, and for that name, which is no part of thee, take all myself.
I take thee at thy word. Call me but love, and I'll be new baptized. Henceforth, I never will be Romeo.
What man art that, thus bescreened in night, that so stumblest on my counsel?
Fabulous work. Wonderful, wonderful scene. And hopefully, if you've been watching our streamed Shakespeare plays, you will have seen that scene performed a few weeks ago. And if you haven't, make sure you check it out, because we did a wonderful performance of Romeo and Juliet only a few weeks ago. So questions for that scene, played so beautifully by those incredible actors, both of whom, by the way, you will have seen in previous shows. So question 4, and this is about scene 2 that you just watched. You may have noticed there was a very famous line that was spoken incorrectly. That was not the actor's fault. I made her say that. What is the original line? What's the original line? What did she say wrong that is so famous to us all? Question 5, to do with this scene. Which scene is this? In this question, you can tell me if you know what act and scene it is. Otherwise, what is it colloquially referred to as? Or any other information that you might know that makes this particular scene quite famous. And question 6, the final question about this scene. Who played the title male role in Baz Luhrmann's film adaptation? Scene 3. So can my actor for scene 3 please come on board?
Out, damn spots. Out, I say. 1, 2. Why then it's time to do it. Hell is murky. Fie, my lord, fie. A soldier and afeard? What need we fear? Who knows it when none can call our power to account? Yet who would have thought the old man to have had so much blood in him? The Thane of Fife had a wife. Where is she now? What? Will these hands ne'er be clean? No more of that, my lord, no more of that. You mar all with this starting. Here's the smell of the blood still. All the perfumes in Arabia will not sweeten this little hand. Oh, oh, oh. Wash your hands. Put on your nightgown. Look not so pale. I tell you yet again, Banquo's buried. He cannot come out of his grave. To bed, to bed. There's knocking at the gate. Come, 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 give me your hand. What's done cannot be undone. To bed, to bed, to bed.
Excellent rendition indeed. Who was that is my question. Who was that, and in which play are we? Where are we? What play? Who was doing those wonderful out damn spot lines? Question 8. A very famous speech, I'm sure at some point someone in your lives, perhaps even in pandemic land, has commented on out damn spot. I know I say that speech often when I'm washing my hands. But actually in the play, there are 2 other characters that are present at this moment. Do you know who they are? That's question 8. Who was missing from this scene? Question 9. What happens to that character that you've just seen following this scene? What happens to her? Alrighty, and we are up to the final scene for this round. The final scene, we have one more actor who has come on board, who you definitely will recognise because he's been in many of our plays. Are you there, Chris Miller? You need no further introduction. There it is. Excellent. Alrighty, and take it away when you're ready.
Oh, wherefore, nature, didst thou lions frame, since lion vile hath here deflowered my dear? Which is, no, which was the fairest dame that lived, that loved, that liked, that looked with cheer? Come, tears, confound, outsword and wound the pap of Pyramus. Aye, that left pap, where heart doth hop. Thus I die, thus. Now I am dead, now I am fled, my soul is in the sky. Tongue, lose thy sight, moon, take thy flight. Thus I die, die.
Oh dear, absolutely amazing. There's tears of laughter happening over here in my household. Tremendous to see that rendition again. Thank you so much. So that is all of the scenes. So actors, thank you so much. Please, in your living rooms at home or wherever you are, give them a round of applause. Really fantastic work from all of them. I'm sure you will agree. So the questions for that excellent monologue we just saw. First of all, what Shakespeare play is this from? Question 11. Where is the myth of Pyramus and Thisbe from? What is it based on? Name the actor who performed this monologue. And if you're watching this on video, please don't rewind to the bit where I actually said the name. And the 2 character names from the Shakespeare play and from Pyramus and Thisbe. So there are 3 names associated with that particular rendition of that monologue that you just saw. And that is all the questions. Oh my goodness. There's lots of them. Round three. So round three is all about famous quotes. So famous Shakespearean quotes that you have hopefully heard. And if you haven't, how exciting is this day for you? So question 1. What is the number of the sonnet that begins with the line, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day"? Which sonnet is that? Which sonnet is that? Question 2. Finish this line. "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to..." What does he say after that? Question 3. What is the next line after "When shall we three meet again"? What happens next? Question 4. Finish this quote. "That which we call a rose by any other name..." Question 5. There's a very long word that you may or may not have seen pop up in a streamed Shakespeare play. It's the longest word mentioned in any of Shakespeare's plays. Which play is it in? Question number 6. And in this question, it's a bit of a name that play. So I'm going to read some famous Shakespeare quotes, and you will have to put which play these quotes are from. You can also achieve an extra point if you name the character that says it. So the first one. "Be not afraid of greatness. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and others have greatness thrust upon them." The next quote is, "All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players." The next quote, "The course of true love never did run smooth." Then, "If you prick us, do we not bleed?" Next is, "A horse! A horse! My kingdom for a horse!" Whew, second time I've got to say that today. Next quote, "Beware, my lord, of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster that doth mock the meat it feeds on." 2 to go. Next one is, "If music be the food of love, play on." The final quote for you to guess which play and which character says it is, "The lady doth protest too much, methinks." The lady doth protest too much, methinks. And that's it for round 3. So all about famous quotes. Good luck. So round 4, here we go. Round 4, question 1. How many shows has Streamed Shakespeare done so far? As of 24th of May, 2020. Question 2. How many plays has Holly Champion, our artistic director, directed? How many plays has she directed so far as of this date? And a bonus point if you can name them. Question 3. What was the interval entertainment during the production of Midsummer Night's Dream and Winter's Tale? And let me tell you, if you missed that incredible interval entertainment, I really encourage you to head back over and watch both plays and stick around for the interval because it's amazing. You missed out if you've missed it so far. Thank goodness for technology that we can rewatch. Question 4. Shakespeare wrote one stage direction, so they say. One stage direction was recorded. What was it? It was in Winter's Tale. It wasn't announced, but I do want to know what is that stage direction? Bonus point if you can quote it exactly. Otherwise, if you just kind of roughly know what it's to do with, what it's about, put that in your answer there. Question 5. What was the first streamed Shakespeare play? What was the first one we did? First one we did a lot of weeks ago. I won't tell you how many because that will give another answer away. Question 6. Is everyone on this project who's working as part of the project living in Australia? Are we all Aussies that are behind the scenes and indeed acting within the plays? Is everyone in Australia? If you like for that one, you can have a guess, or if you know where the different people might be from, unless we're all from Australia. Question 7. How do streamed Shakespeare actors memorize all their lines in 1 week? We only have 1 week lead up into each show. How do we do it? How do we know all our lines within 1 week? Question 8. Which of the plays that Stream Shakespeare has done so far has these fabulous Shakespearean insults? First one. For I must tell you friendly in your ear, sell when you can, you are not for all markets. And I do desire we may be better strangers. 2 Shakespearean insults there for you. Which play were they from? Question 9. We had the amazing Eleni and Tom play Beatrice and Benedict in our Much Ado About Nothing. But which 2 actors played those roles that are also famously known side by side in a Doctor Who series? Question 10. On Easter morning, we did a show featuring Shakespeare's sonnets, and you can watch that on YouTube already. Tell me, how many lines make up a sonnet? How many lines make up a sonnet? They're always in the same structure. They always have the same amount of lines. How many are there? And you can have a bonus point too if you can state the structure. Question 11. Name as many musical instruments that you can that have been featured in our shows so far. So we've had lots of musical instruments and lots of musicians be part of the Stream Shakespeare show so far. It's one of the most amazing things about being part of this company is having live music week to week. And there's lots of different instruments that you've seen. So give me a list. And second last question here. Will we see you in the audience in our next shows? Any requests for plays that you might like to see us do? That was just a fun question I had to throw in there. And the final bonus question, tell me a fun fact about Shakespeare that wasn't in this quiz. I want to learn more about Shakespeare too. Maybe you're going, oh no, I stayed up all night reading my Shakespeare books and you didn't ask me this question. You can chuck in a fun fact there for me. And that is the end of the quiz. So the answers for round 1. We had the first question was Shakespeare's death day. What date did he die? He actually died on April the 23rd, which is his birthday. So quite commonly when we're celebrating Shakespeare's anniversary, we're celebrating both his birth and his death day. Of course, this isn't strictly true. He was actually, what we do know is the date that he was baptized. We don't actually know the day that he was absolutely born. So I believe he was baptized a couple of days later, and that's the records that we've got. But quite often at that time, a baby would be baptized a few days after they were born. So it's sort of commonly known that he was born on April 23rd and then he died on April 23rd as well. So near enough in any case. I actually recently was in Stratford-upon-Avon where Shakespeare was born and lived, and I got the joy of going to the house in which he was born in Stratford-upon-Avon, and I also went to visit his wife's cottage, known as Anne Hathaway's cottage. So congratulations if you knew that was the name of Shakespeare's wife. Anne Hathaway was the correct answer. Of course, not the famous actress we know today, unless she is that good at time travel. Question 3 was, what was the name of Shakespeare's acting company? The correct answer is the King's Men. The King's Men. They were formerly known as the Lord Chamberlain's Men during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. And they became the King's Men in 1603 when King James ascended to the throne. So it was the King's Men. The next question you had was, which of these names did not belong to one of Shakespeare's children? Again, I'm at the advantage that I've literally just been there, that I had this question on my brain. I gave you the options of Hamnet, Susanna, Elizabeth, and Judith. And in fact, the correct answer was Elizabeth. There was no Elizabeth, daughter of Shakespeare. Hamnet sadly passed away as a child, and Susanna and Judith remained his children after that. Which of the following is not one of Shakespeare's plays? I gave you a number of king options, King George and King John, and Richard III, and of course Hamlet. The correct answer was King George. There's no Shakespeare play called King George. There is one called King John, which is a lesser known one, so don't stress too much if that was your answer in that case. Of course, Richard III, very famous play and very famous person from history. There is much difference between the Richard III that we see in Shakespeare's play compared to the history that we know from the real Richard III. It's really interesting to look up about it if you are so therefore inclined. Now, I threw this one as a little bit of a curveball for you. I had the first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers. I had, 'tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. To be or not to be, that is the question. A horse, my kingdom for a horse. Very tricky question. And many of you went for the first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers. That is in fact incorrect. That is a line from a Shakespeare play. It's from Henry VI, Part 2. The correct answer, 'tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. That is from a poem called In Memoriam by Tennyson. So that's from a poem, not from a Shakespeare play. That was a tricky one. My apologies. My apologies for that. What is Shakespeare's longest play was my next question. Longest play? There were lots of differing answers here. The correct answer is Hamlet. 4,042 lines. Hamlet is often cut. It's kind of rarely done in its full form. It's a very, very long play, very excellent play, one of my favorites for sure. And I'm sure you'll all be very excited to know that we are performing Hamlet as part of Streamed Shakespeare next week, the longest play, but don't worry, it has been cut short. However, it would be fantastic if you all tune in at that time. My next question from round one was, it is taboo to say the word Macbeth in a theatre. I'm not in a theatre, so I'm okay to say it right now. It's believed if you do something bad will happen. What do we call Macbeth instead? And we call it the Scottish play. You may hear actors regularly actually refer to Macbeth as the Scottish play. Even in normal conversation, quite often people will. And in fact, I often do when I'm talking to another actor, I'll go, oh yes, I was in the Scottish play, blah, 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 just in case they're extra superstitious. Question 9 from round 1 was, which two players have been translated into Klingon, which is the language created from Star Trek. I myself am not a Star Trek fan, sorry, apologies, but I do know that the answer to this question is Much Ado About Nothing and Hamlet. And the final question was, how many sonnets are there? How many Shakespearean sonnets are there? And the answer is 154. Round 2. I bet you're dying to know the answers to these amazing performances that we saw performed for us. So the very first scene you saw, there were 3 witches within the wonderful play known as Macbeth, which is the Scottish play. So Macbeth, the Scottish play, was where the first scene was from, which is the witches. Now, I keep referring to them as the witches, and they are often called that, but as I mentioned earlier, they are sometimes called something else, which is the Weird Sisters. Also a famous band from Harry Potter was pointed out to be the other night. The Weird Sisters. The next question was, which animal's toe went into the cauldron? So you had to have been listening very carefully to Meredith's witch as she listed all of the cool, crazy things that went into the cauldron, and the correct answer was frog. Then we saw another scene from another famous play, one that we've seen in Streamed Shakespeare. First question is, which famous line was spoken incorrectly? She said, Montague, Montague, wherefore art thou Montague? Which of course is very incorrect. The line should have been, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? And fun trivia fact about that line, often it's thought, wherefore art thou is, where are you? Romeo, Romeo, where are you, Romeo? But actually it means, why are you? Why are you Romeo? Because of course he is of the opposing family. And the fact that he is that in the play means that she can't just have a relationship with him straight away. So Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo does not mean where are you? It means why? Why are you called that? Why is that your name? Deny thy name, etc. So the colloquial term is the balcony scene. I gave you all a mark for getting that. Most of you did. And in fact, it's Act 2, Scene 2 of Romeo and Juliet. Very, very famous scene. The next question was about the Baz Luhrmann adaptation of 1996. And we had, of course, Leonardo DiCaprio was the lead role in that particular film. Question 7 was about the next scene. And again, we're revisiting Macbeth. So if you got Macbeth, we're back there again. And for the out damn spot speech, very famous speech. And there are 2 characters who are usually there at this moment in the play, who are watching Lady M walking around, going through this experience. And those 2 people are the doctor and the gentlewoman. They do actually have lines wherein they are talking to each other and trying to figure out what's going on. What happens to this character following this scene? Sadly, she dies. It's sometimes is a little bit debated exactly how she dies, and certainly I had the absolute honour of playing the role of Lady Macbeth a couple of years ago, and that was definitely a question that we discussed. How in fact does she do it? It's not 100% clear. Some people say out a window, jumped out a window, commit suicide in some way, but she does in fact pass away. So I just gave it to you if you said anything of that. Scene 4 was the wonderful Chris Miller, I can say it now, wonderful actor, and he performed a terrific rendition of a monologue from Midsummer Night's Dream. Midsummer Night's Dream was the name of the Shakespeare play. Now, in this moment within the Shakespeare play, it's a play within a play, and they're performing it right at the end. They're a troupe of actors who are characters within Midsummer's performing this, and it's called Pyramus and Thisbe. And my question was, this was a tricky one actually. My question was, what is the myth of Pyramus and Thisbe from? Because in fact, Shakespeare borrowed this story, and it is from Ovid's Metamorphoses. Ovid's Metamorphoses. And then for the final question, you had to say 3 names: the name of the actor, the name of the play within a play, and the name of the Shakespeare character. And you got it if you said Chris Miller as the actor, Pyramus as Pyramus and Thisbe, and Bottom. Bottom was the name of the character from A Midsummer Night's Dream. The answers from round 3. First question was, what is the number of the sonnet that begins with the line, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" And the answer, of course, is 18. It's sonnet 18, a wonderful sonnet. If you haven't read it in full, if you're only familiar with that first line, I do encourage you to read that sonnet. It's tremendous. My personal favourite sonnet is 29, though, if you're in a sonnet reading mood. And also, have a look at Patrick Stewart's Instagram. He is reading a sonnet a day. I've been waking up most mornings listening to a sonnet, a Shakespearean sonnet read by him. Then we've got a whole bunch of Shakespeare quotes. We've got, "Finish this line, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him." Praise him was the correct answer from Julius Caesar there. What is the next line after "When shall we 3 meet again?" "In thunder, lightning, or in rain" would have been the correct answer there. Finish the quote. "That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet." Chris, could you come on cam for 1 moment, please, to pronounce our word for us?
The word is honorificabilitudinitatis.
Thank you, Chris. And that word is from Love's Labour's Lost. So if you have been watching Shakespeare, stream Shakespeare plays, that is where it was, Love's Labour's Lost. The next was a range of quotes from all sorts of plays wherein I asked you to tell me what is the name of the play that it's from, and great if you knew what the character also is. The first one, be not afraid of greatness, some are born great, some achieve greatness, and others have greatness thus thrust upon them, is from Twelfth Night, and Malvolio says that line. The next one was all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players, of course, is from As You Like It, and Jacques says that line. The next line we had was the course of love never did run smooth, and that's from Midsummer Night's Dream, from Lysander says that one. And he says it to Helena early on when they're trying to figure out what to do in the situation that they're in. If you prick us, do we not bleed? Comes from The Merchant of Venice, and Shylock says that line. A horse, my kingdom for a horse, is said by Richard III, by Richard himself, in fact. Beware, my lord, of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster that doth mock the meat it feeds on. That's from Iago, from Othello. And you may have heard that green-eyed monster phrase before, all about jealousy. If music be the food of love, play on. That's from Twelfth Night. Twelfth Night, and Orsino says that. And finally, we had the lady doth protest too much, methinks. And that's from the play Hamlet. And Queen Gertrude says that as they're watching the play unfold. The lady doth protest too much, methinks. And there are many, 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 many other famous quotes from all sorts of Shakespearean plays, many that we use all the time in our day and age, and many words as well that Shakespeare invented that are still used today. In fact, it's something like 70% of words in Shakespeare plays are actually still used today. So if you ever feel scared of Shakespeare because you think, oh my goodness, what are all these words? Many of them are words that we use today in our everyday language. They're just obviously written in a beautiful poetic way, and there are many words that Shakespeare himself invented. But many quotes too, and hopefully you've heard some of those quotes before. Hopefully you've learnt some new ones, and you will start to use them in your everyday life now. Okay, and so for round 4, we had the first question was how many Shakespeare plays has Streamed Shakespeare done so far? Now this was a tiny bit of a trick one. Technically we've done 8 plays, but we've done 9 shows because we did that sonnets show that I mentioned earlier. So we've done 9 shows. So this is our 9th week this week, which is bonkers that we've been doing it for this long. Great. Then we had how many plays has Holly Champion, our artistic director, directed? And you got a bonus point here if you could name what those plays are. She's directed 3 so far. Comedy of Errors was the very first one, Midsummer Night's Dream, and of course The Winter's Tale, which was just on last week. All terrific plays that she directed, and I had lots of fun being part of all 3 of them actually, as an actor, which was awesome. What was the interval entertainment during Midsummer Night's Dream and Winter's Tale? And you may recall when I was asking this question to you, I encouraged you to go back and watch it because we had this sand artist whose name is John. He came on, and we'll definitely post some kind of link below this video so that you can access his website. Absolutely phenomenal artwork done for our interval entertainment there, was this amazing sand art, and that was in both of those plays featured him. Shakespeare wrote 1 stage direction. This was in A Winter's Tale, which we had last week. Do you know what it was to do with? And for this one, the answer is exit, pursued by a bear. Very famous stage direction and Shakespeare line that's often quoted. And you may have seen that we had, in fact, had a bear featured in our show. So make sure you check that out. What was Streamed Shakespeare's first play? I already revealed that earlier today. It was The Comedy of Errors that was directed by Holly. Then we had, is everyone on this project living in Australia? I just thought that would be a fun fact while we're talking all things Streamed Shakespeare, for you all to know that, in fact, we are a bit worldwide. We have people in Canada, we have people in Germany, we've had people in Amsterdam, all different places from around the world coming on board for this project. And it's been really delightful having those new connections that we may not have made otherwise, who have been on board to make this project the best that it can be. How do streamed Shakespeare actors memorize all their lines? I'm one of them every week. If I'm lucky enough to be in the show, I'm doing Hamlet next week. I have to learn all my lines. No, I don't. It was a trick question. The way that we do it is we have the scripts up on our screen at the same time as the Zoom chat, the Zoom program, so that we actually are reading the lines. Some actors I know are learning them a little bit as they get into it, especially if they have a kind of more main role. Perhaps they do try and learn a few of their lines, but they definitely have the script up in front of them. It was a trick question there for you. Which of the plays that Stream Shakespeare have done so far contains the Shakespearean insults? For I must tell you, friendly in your ear, sell when you can, you are not for all markets. And I do desire we may be better strangers. They're both from As You Like It. They're both insults from As You Like It. And Shakespeare, in fact, is often quoted for his famous insults. There are many make your own Shakespeare insult websites and things like that, so you can definitely have some fun with them. I actually have some badges here behind me. I've got, let me do this. Thou art a boil. Oh, you can't see it because of the green screen. Thou art a boil. Thou smell of mountain goat. Scratching could not make worse such a face as yours. And I do desire we may be better strangers is here on this badge too. So fabulous, lots of Shakespearean insults. They're lots of fun to play around with if you haven't come across them before. Next, I had the question about Beatrice and Benedict in Much Ado, and the famous actors that played these roles recently, who are also side by side in Doctor Who, David Tennant and Catherine Tate. On Easter morning, we did our Shakespearean sonnets show. How many lines? How many lines make up a sonnet? The answer is 14. I had to double check myself by literally saying a sonnet out loud. That's my method of remembering this question. In fact, I was once in a trivia and was asked this question, and it was not a Shakespeare trivia, it was just a general one, and everyone looked to me and I froze, and then I just started spouting a sonnet and doing this with my hands. So yes, I'm a nerd, but also helps to know one to be able to do it. And of course, the structure, that's the general structure of a sonnet. Name as many musical instruments as you can that have been featured in our shows so far. This one, I just really wanted to draw attention to the joy of being a performer and being an artist and getting to work together. And one of the great things about our project has been that we've been able to do that. We've been able to bring on musicians and composers from around the world and from Australia that have had the opportunity to perform their work and have their works performed. So we've had lots of things. We've had a recorder, Holly herself played an excellent recorder rendition in As You Like It. We've had flutes, I've played the flute, and a couple of other people have come on board to play the flute. We've had piano, we've had harmonicas, we've had guitars, we've had drums, of course voices, wonderful singers that we've had so far. So if you said any of all of those, you certainly got points. For those of you playing at home, there are no prizes on offer today, but for our bonus questions, such as any requests or any fun Shakespeare facts that weren't included within this trivia night, you can post them in the comments below, and we would absolutely like to read through them. Maybe don't post all of the answers though, as of course we want this video to be watched by lots of people. Now, you may have noticed that our actors today have had a yellowy background as their virtual background in their performances. So my bonus question for you is, where is that from? Where is it from? Where did we get that image from? And the answer to where is that image from can be seen right here. from Shakespeare's portrait from his forehead. And as you can see, I've decided to wear Shakespeare's clothes today as the Shakespeare Trivia Quizmaster. I'd just like to say a very big thank you to Streamed Shakespeare, to our artistic director, Holly Champion, to all of the people behind the scenes. We've had Charlotte being our tech director. We've had Chris helping out with behind the scenes other technical work. We've had Michaela, who's sort of overseen a lot of what's been happening. We've had Kim and Samantha, who have helped me to write the questions and put it all together. And of course, thank you so much to our generous donors who have provided the prizes for our Zoom teams today. Very excited to see who's going to win them. To everybody who is watching this in the future, congratulations. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble about things that I know about Shakespeare. I hope you have learnt things, and I hope you have had fun answering these questions. And I would love to chat with any of you about Shakespeare at any point. I can't wait till we can go and watch it for real in our theatres. But until then, aren't we lucky to be able to watch it on our computer screens with Streamed Shakespeare? I'm Emily McKnight, and I am very grateful to have had this wonderful afternoon with you. So thank you so much for coming, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.